20年从政经历，深厚的中国情结，李瑞林市长与您面对面谈天说地，谈古论今。每个月第4个星期六，欢迎收听李市长信箱。
各位好，我是李瑞林，现任高雄市市议员，前任市长，欢迎这个1个月1次的座谈会。我一直都是这里做了几年了，都非常觉得我们华人在美国很多尤其是移民过来的，最近新移民，对于美国的社会文化要多多了解，因为我们在美国这个事业很成功，教育也很注重，家庭里面的经济各种情况都非常不错。小孩子，我们觉得将来在美国，都是做美国公民了，所以我们的将来发展是对于我们来讲是很重要的。我们家长对于小孩子的前途都非常注重，所以我们要怎么样在美国可以留得下、站得住，就是要看我们对于社会的有什么贡献。因为美国这个社会是民主制度。所以很多事情是很明显，很有是要老百姓有能力可以有影响，所以我们你看最近这个 COVID-19 这个事情对于经济上面的影响得很厉害，所以很多就业的人群都感觉到有经济上面的影响。所以这个都影响到社会的影响，影响到生活的影响，影响到我们这个政治上面，因为政策上面很重要。因为美国这个政府是要看老百姓怎么支持，然后什么东西政策出来，就是对于哪一个社会哪一个项目是比较重要的。所以这个国家政策都是老百姓有影响力的。所以就一直是讨论这些事情，尤其我现在很注重就是小孩子，因为年轻人开始嘛，因为他们将来社会就是他们的时间嘛，就是他们的生活，就一定要看他们对于我们社会、对于政府、对于政治有什么影响力，所以我就很高兴今天。我就请到我的一个好朋友Chen，他是跟我在3年前组织了一个 non-profit， 叫做 Pathway Foundation， 这个宗旨就是怎么样在美国可以有影响力，尤其是社会里面、政治里面。那么将来的美国政策。各种不同的社会上面也好，经济上面也好，政治上面也好，我们都有对于我们的法源，晓得我们的，尤其是我们在很多政策上面，这个移民政策也是很重要。我们都是移民了，很多都是移民，将来的移民，现在的移民，我们关于我们的，对于我们国家，对于我们的这个政策都是非常大的影响。那么我们有能力可以出声音，能力有影响。We have a voice and we have a place at the table， 这很重要的。所以我们这个组织就是为了要培养小孩子、年轻人。We want to cultivate, we want to help, encourage young people to be civically engaged, how to participate in the community, in the greater community, in the greater world besides just studying， 因为就是念书是一个当然很重要了，这个是 basic tools， 我们要有能力，但是另外还是要晓得怎么样跟这个社会里面 how do we engage, how do we get involved, how do we make an impact, how do we provide value to the community, therefore the community can look at us as valuable participants so that they can see we can make things happen. We can help them to make things happen. We can help them to make this world a better place. We can help them to make this country a better place for everybody to live. Because 这个美国 American value 是很重要的。我们来美国最大的原因就是为了我们能够有自由，有我们的达到我们自己个人的要求，我们有能力可以控制我们个人的生活。So this is very important. 所以我们现在这个我晓得这1年、2年、3年，这个社会很乱，政治也很乱。There's a lot of turmoil in politics. 尤其是刚刚2020年，不只是这个政治上面出了很大的一个 turmoil 而且有 COVID-19 这个 health 也是变成一个很大的一个很严重的一个问题。So it creates a lot of polarization, a lot of division, a lot of unrest, but it all has an impact to the future. 跟将来社会上面有很大的影响。所以我们这个 Pathway Foundation 的 internship 就很多年轻人 all the young people, we have a lot of high school students, and they understand, they realize also the importance of community engagement, civic engagement, how to equip themselves to make a difference, to have influence, and to have a choice, and most importantly, have a place at the table where public policies, decisions are made that affect our lives, that influence all our lives. We have seen a lot of changes taking place. And, we just had finished a presidential election. So we just have with us the inauguration. 今年2021是新年，新的总统上任。We just saw President Biden and Vice President Harris. It's very, very good to hear, very inspiring that they talk about equality, 自由、民主、平等, freedom, liberty, justice, and equality. And I think it's very important. 我们给我们一个机会 give us an opportunity to participate, have the door kind of open. I think the policies, the president, hopefully the government policies, the administration is, having policy to encourage all of us to participate, have a place at the table. There's a saying that if you're not at the table, you'll be part of the menu. So I don't think that we want to be a menu. I believe that we would like to be at the table. Actually, I go even one step further. I tell people that, in the United States, 在美国, we make the rules. We set the rules. And, when we play in a game, everything we do, is participate, it's activities. There's things that we do to make life better. So when you have a game, then you set rules for the game, right? And we are playing games where the rules are already been set by a lot of people before us, right? So the rules are set, by the people who are not like us, who don't understand, and what are the fair rules of the game, right? So sometimes the rules are not fair because time change, right? So you need to adjust the game. You need the rules, adjust the rules to fit the players. Otherwise, some players not, be not unfair to them. For example, I'm sure basketball is set by tall people, right? That's why the basket is so tall. So you're taller, you have advantage, right? And now there's shorter people. So what do? So you need to make adjustments. That's why you come up with 3-point games, right? 3-point shots. So that gives the people who are shorter, some advantage. Okay, so that makes sense. But so furthermore, even one step further, I was saying we can actually make games. If we make games that's going to be better for the country, why not? Right? You can actually create games, and you will set up the rules, and you make the rules as fair as possible, so everybody can play, everybody can participate, and everybody can equally contribute, right? So you if you have good intentions, if you live according to American creed, values, you will make the rules very, very equal, right? So I think that's fun, because when you make it equal, everybody participate. That means it's become a real good game, right? It have everybody working together, getting along, playing together. It's only when you discriminate other people, make the rules not fair, that's when people don't talk together. They don't work together. They find their own game, then you don't have a united country anymore. You become separate entities. That's not good, right? That does not meet, the value of this country. So what we want to do is we need to learn, understand, and be able to participate. And we want to make sure, like the President Biden said, we need to work together. We need to get everybody working for the same cause. We all need to be at the table, right? So we want to take a look at to see, whether this is indeed happening, and what are the things that we can do to help him to realize and to help him to make this possible, that we as Asian Americans, as Chinese Americans, especially for young people like you, or actually, that's for the future, obviously, but we're setting the table for you as well. We're helping it. But it's important. We need to start learning how to participate, how to engage. So I'm very lucky. I'm able to invite a couple of my interns to come to have a conversation on this. And so why don't you each of us introduce ourselves a little bit, okay? And then think about the topic we're going to talk about. What and how are the Chinese Americans represented? With the presidential appointments, because when President Biden, formed his team, he had appointed many people in different positions, starting with very important cabinet positions, advisors, and to all the way down. Okay, so we can take a look, and we will want to be sure that it's happening, and then we want to be sure that we can help him to make it happen, right? Which is the thing we are talking about, either short term or long term. So let's have a conversation, discussion on this. And because young people, the Chinese is not as fluent, so we'll have a mix of English and Chinese. So for the parents, who are not comfortable with English, I apologize. But I will mix it up with Mr. Chen, with some Chinese. And the young people, feel free, if you want to say something, if you want to, I can, help to make sure the important points are made in both Chinese and English, so that we can really have a good conversation. So at the end, okay, I know that we don't have set up that people can call in and talk to us, but I hope that people who are listening, whether you're listening in English or Chinese, and if you have any, comments, and we would love to hear from you, because this is an important topic. It's going forward. We have an administration that promises, and I believe very true, very, very heartily, that they mean it. But we have to do our part, as Chinese Americans. How can we help? How can we, make sure that we do the things to engage ourselves? Because people don't understand us unless we take the initiative, to say, hey, we do, right? Because it's communication, it goes both ways, right? It takes two to tango. So let me go with, why don't we go with Edwin on first. Edwin was my intern a year ago, and he graduated from Redmond High School, right?
Yeah,
And
Redmond
then
High School.
he went on to Stanford. And so you can tell us a little about his experience. And then we have Keria Wong, who's currently an intern with the mayoral internship. And then she can, say a few words, introduce herself, and then touch upon the topic of what we're talking about. And then have Mr. Steve Wong to, say whatever.
Steve Chen.
Steve Chen, I'm sorry. I was thinking about Carol Wong, yeah. Steve Chen, absolutely, yeah. I have a good friend, happened to be Steve Wong too. Actually, there's two Steve Wongs right here that I have known, but Mr. Chen, yes. So go ahead, Edwin, why don't you continue?
Yeah, I can introduce myself a little bit. I'll try to use Chinese as much as I can for my introduction, so everyone can understand me. So 大家好，我叫 Edwin，今年在 Stanford，现在今年第2年，我在 Stanford 学习经济，Yeah. Keria, do you want to introduce yourself?
By the way, I want to mention one more thing. Edwin is going to manage my re-election campaign. Why he's, because he's not going back to school yet because of COVID-19. So, yeah, so I appreciate, he helping me. So.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to try to use some Chinese. So 大家好，我是 Keria Wong. I am currently a sophomore at International School in Bellevue, and yeah, it's great to be here for this discussion about the topic.
I understand you also can 講廣東話, right?
Yeah, 我識講廣東話。
少少。
少少，好少。
Very good. All right. Well, Steve.
大家好，我是 Steve Chen，那我是跟 Miss Lee 呢，在4年前呢co-found 的这个 Pathway Foundation。那 Foundation 呢最重要的一个 project 就是美日 internship。那我们的想法就是说呢，基于因为我是第一代移民我是90年来美国的，基于我对美国这30年的生活的体验也像理事长刚才说的，这个我们华人怎么样参与美国的政治生活，那我得出一个结论，这个 civic engagement 是 very important 的一个 basic skill， like citizen life skill。所以呢，我们一块儿就是希望给我们的下一代呢，更多的机会来学习这种 skill， 这样他们未来以后呢，能够就是说参与到美国的政治 ，play the game and set the rule.
Very good. So, what do you think of Chinese American recognition, and how have we done in being recognized and being placed in position of influence in government, in political hierarchy? Starting with, obviously, everybody's focusing on presidential election, what's the administration going to do, what policies are going to set, what immigration policy is going to be. Actually, we're also talking about, everybody's talking about U.S.-China relations, 中国美国两个国家的关系, so everybody feels, we need to know more. And so based on, and I think Chinese American obviously would like and should have some influence, some input, on those topics. And so to have real input, influence, we need to have representations, right? People who are in the White House, in administration, be able to communicate, convey, what our needs are, to the administration. Ideally, we have direct, input to the president, but I'm not sure, we are quite there yet, right? So, what is your observation? Any comments? And if we do, then that's good. Let's explain. Let's analyze it and tell the rest of the audience what can we do. Recognize it so we can do more of it. We can emulate. We can use them as examples. But if we don't, then let's figure out, well, what do we fall short on? Why? How can we do to improve the situation, right? Such as this Pathway Foundation, encouraging more people to be engaged, and other. We're just beginning. We're just training young people, but there's a lot more to do. Such as running for office, right?
Yeah,
done before. And for each of you, your what you do in college, that's important because you're building on your experience and your influence, learning how to do. As you watched, this 22-year-old young lady that is the first youth poet laureate, and she's just articulate. I don't know whether you have seen it. I'm sure you saw her. Did you see her on TV, Keria and Edwin?
Yeah, like we talked about, I saw some clips of her reading the poetry. It's really good stuff, very powerful stuff. She's definitely
How about you, Keria?
Yeah, I heard about her, of course, on the news and also in my humanities class. So my humanities teacher or my literature teacher actually showcased it and was asking us what our opinion.
Right. She's already started, her path to influence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She already proven her value when she inspires, the community. Say, wow, and so she's on her way. So she is a.
You need to
model.
take a break.
Okay, we have 3 minutes or 1?
You need to take a break now.
Okay, we'll take a break.
西雅图中文电台需要您的支持。如果您曾经听到过西雅图中文电台的节目，如果您曾经在西雅图中文电台网站或者微信平台上看过我们的报道，如果您参加过中文电台的演出或者其他活动，请您支持我们。西雅图中文电台是由非营利组织西雅图华人广播协会支持的。大多数的主持人多年来义务为西雅图以及全球的华人提供精神食粮。请您向具有501C3免税资格的西雅图华人广播协会捐款。捐款的 PayPal 账号是 scbaseattle@gmail.com。捐款电话206-619-8698，206-619-8698。西雅图中文电台，感谢您的支持。
新冠疫情期间，保持距离的意义已经不同以往了。现在保持6英尺或者1.8米，表示的是尊重、关怀，甚至是爱。为了您的家人、朋友、同事，还有您自己的健康，请保持6英尺的距离，以减缓新冠病毒的传播。这样，您就可以与您所爱的人保持联系的同时，降低风险。见面的时间要短，规模要小，请务必保持6英尺的距离，并戴上口罩。本广告由华盛顿州卫生部赞助播出。
OK，welcome back， 欢迎回来。我们刚刚在讨论这个我们华人在美国政治上面，尤其是这个拜登总统，这个手下分配的重要人员，轻浮，我们在华人的位置里面有没有我们的代表？尤其是自己华人在里面有直接影响力，所以我们在讨论，假设有的话，我们怎么样可以学他们的模样；假设没有的话，我们要怎么样？要准备我们华人在美国社会里面有这种能力， 有这种位置，可以在美国政治里面打进去，好像我们这个 Pathway Foundation， 这个是一个模型，一个方法，是怎么样培养我们的小孩子，影响到家长，整个社会都对于这个社会有这个服务，社会有影响力。So, well, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think first it's important to look at, the Biden administration, the Biden cabinet, what Chinese Americans are in the cabinet, and the answer is none. There is one Chinese American who was nominated, Catherine Tai. She was nominated to be U.S. Trade Representative, but look, I don't think that Chinese Americans ever really had that much power. The highest position, I believe, in the executive any Chinese American has held is Elaine Chao when she was Secretary of Transportation, I believe. So
and Gary Locke was the Commerce.
That's right. Gary Locke was Secretary of Commerce, but that's like two people in the history of America, and Chinese have been here for a long time.
Secretary of Energy at one time. Yeah. So you can count on one fingers over, the last almost 20 years. So it's a very, very, to me, I would use the word very dismal, very sad state. And obviously, we've seen the improvement that has happened. You notice the African Americans, and we have a vice president, but it's based on her own ability, to be elected by the public. So that's one route to get recognition, right? Is you have to do your own thing, right? And we have some congressmen, we have a few, representatives, and they did it on their own. But it's difficult, it's challenging, and so we have to have people who can prove their worth and earn through their own merit, and what they can actually do and have influence and have connections and build relationship, with each other, so they can have lots of recognition, and they are going to be depended on to make a better world, right? So we have to be more visible. We have to be more active, more engaged. Yes. I think, again, President Biden has a wonderful, wonderful intention. And we see, again, Vice President Harris can be a big, big help. And but we got to do our share. We have to make sure that we do our part. So what do you guys think? Yeah, let me hear from Edwin and Keria.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I was just going to mention, in general, I've seen that in our society, there's not many Asian Americans in general just voicing out. So I think that, like as we see in 2021, there's a lot more people getting influenced and like going up, raising up, but we still need more voices to be out. And to do so, I think that bringing interest in more of the Asian communities is a crucial part, because the years that I've been seeing that there in the Asian communities, there's very lack of interest in voting, and not only voting, but also like just in general, like I said, voicing out. So I think there's that. And Steve, I saw you had something in mind.
No, how do you do it?
Oh, how do you do it?
Yeah, it's easy to say we need to. We all know we need to, but
yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah,
just
so for me,
no, talking is cheap. Doing is important.
Yeah, so some, I guess, how to do it. Right now, since we're in the pandemic, technology is a very big thing. And we've been seeing that technology, there's like a tremendous increase in access to technology and utilizing social media. So I think now, like us as youth, we are able to use technology to send out information and all of that. And I also think that bringing up influencers to be able to talk about engaging more Asian youth to talk, because there's a lot more influencers now, and I think their voices can also influence many of their audience.
No, I agree with Keria about the whole topic of social media and influencing. Those are really powerful tools to get people to tune in and start learning about the issues and start learning about why they care, especially young people. I do think, though, that there needs to be more on our part to translate that knowledge and to translate that newfound interest into action and into civic engagement. You know, it's one thing to be posting on social media about the issues, which is a good thing, by the way. I'm not saying it's not, but it's one thing to be doing that, and another thing to be, you know, out doing stuff, whether it's protesting, running for office, whatever it is, you know, face to face with people and engaging. And so there needs to be more programs, things like Pathway Foundation, which Steve Chen and Conrad Lee co-founded, but more programs like that, which really take people who are interested and put them in positions where they go out and they engage and they do stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and adding on to that, civic engagement clubs are a thing that we also as Pathway Foundation also have. And I believe that more civic engagement clubs at like every school would be very beneficial, because every student or every like almost many youth attend school. And so I think it would be very influential as well.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah, good. Excellent.
I think
what's that? Continue.
One thing though is you know, social media and all this is a great way to get young people involved. I don't know how effective social media is at getting older people engaged or in the know necessarily. I think definitely that what Pathway Foundation has been doing does work to an extent, which is when you bring in young people, you can also bring in their parents. Young people are able to talk to their parents and interface better with their parents than almost anyone else. But there's also a lot of older folks who maybe aren't parents. And my question to you all is, how do we bring them in? How do we start educating them?
Okay, let me start something basic, fundamental. The most important influence you can get is to vote, right? Voting is the most important. Okay, that has the most influence to the decision makers. If people don't get the vote, you don't have a position to say anything, right? Because that's where the policies are made by the people who got voted in office. Vote, okay? And so the question is, what do we do? How do we get Chinese Americans? How do we get these people to go to vote? Okay, one. And then you talk about social media. Social media is not the monopoly of the Chinese Americans. There's a lot of folks who can use social media. We know how to use them. So what value do we provide that other people, you know, or we can provide more that will really make a difference? And so the key is when you have to give people, you have to give the community, give the people in power, give the people or the position of power, that we can actually do something more than without us, right? What do you think values can we provide? What are the examples of where, you know, Chinese Americans can add value so that people will say, hey, wow, you know, we notice you, we want you, we need you, so that you can be, you know, we'll listen to you.
Yeah, so 我可以说点中文哈，我的。
Can you let them answer that? Let them answer that first. Let them answer that first. I ask you a question.
Okay.
Can you answer?
No, I think, Mr. Chen, if you have something to say,
No. I ask you a question. Answer me. Unless you don't have an answer, then tell me you don't have an answer. Do you have an answer?
Let me think about that one. I think.
Keria.
I'm also like,
我可以大概我试图解答一下哈。刚才理事长说的意思就是说呢，因为实际上我们每一个人自己 family 都是很不错的，那么我们怎么样去通过我们对社会的贡献的来 influence make 影响，对吧？因为我们每个人都很好了，但是美国社会的真正不是像我们每一个家庭这样，对吧？那就是说我们好的同时，我们怎么样开放这种 opportunity， 让更多的美国人像我们一样能够也同样更好。这个就是这个I read the Biden 的 inaugural 这个 speech， 对吧？他就强调 make change open opportunity for all American。所以说呢，那背上这样的一种想法的话，从我们来讲，我们怎么样去帮助那些还需要帮助的那些美国人。
Yeah, here's my answer. It's multi-part. The first one is we need to advertise more what we already have done, because Chinese Americans already have contributed quite a bit, like with the railroads, like with our current elected officials and those 3 secretaries we talked about. We have contributed to politics. We have contributed to historical politics too, with decisions like Wong Kim Arc, which allowed people born here to be naturalized citizens easier. We have contributed to society with the railroads, like I said, but those things often aren't very well advertised to the public. And part of the blame does fall on us for not pushing and showing our legacy as much. 2, I think that there's a lot more we can do. There's a lot of really smart Chinese American people, both like in terms of academics and also EQ. We have a combination of both as well. And so really it's up to us in large part to step up and be leaders and try to make more change, having recognized that there is room for improvement. Obviously, like, it's not completely our fault. I think some of it, society does look at a lot of Chinese Americans as foreigners. And the stereotypes that come with being Asian, being a little more obedient, being a little quieter, maybe not as great as leading. A lot of that does work against us, but given the talent that we have in the Chinese American population, there's really no reason. We really do need to step up and start leading and start running for office, start creating the next big companies, and more push for all of that.
Yeah, we have to break down some of the stereotypes. You're absolutely right. There are barriers. I mean, look at the African Americans. Look at many other people of color, and there's always misconceptions, misunderstandings, and most of it, I think, it just not for most people. It's not just misunderstand, not knowing us, and stereotypes are stereotypes. And a little bit of it, some of it, maybe it's intentional, but that's by and large, that it's small. So we have the responsibility, the burden to do whatever, Edwin, you are talking about. I think it's important, right? And so how about you, Keria? You were saying earlier in school, one of the things you guys you have worked on, I believe, it's the tutorial, right? tutorial program, helping other young people, who needs help, who needs additional assistance, right? And you have something to offer. So why don't you describe that a bit?
Yeah, so on the topic, I think in general, for the non-speaking English folks who only know Chinese, I think that there should be more outreach towards them, and more people like in executive roles to be able to translate some of these news and outreach towards them, because like right now, I know that there are some outreach and things like that on social media, but like you said, some people maybe don't like use social media, or just like don't trust it. So I think that maybe on like Asian communities all over, like maybe at church or something like that on the news, there should be a lot more translation and like that. If that makes sense.
I think the translation part's really good. One thing I talk about a lot is increasing access to government for a lot of folks who don't speak English. There's a lot of government programs that can help people who are looking to make change or looking to do, looking to become better. We have like a lot of small business assistance programs, but they're not really advertised well, and they're not really translated into many different languages. So there is definitely a big barrier in terms of language, which I think we do need to fix. And yeah, I also agree that in terms of outreaching to a lot of other communities, there's some organizations in Seattle, such as CISC, who are doing some good work, reaching out to them and getting them the information they need. But we also need organizations reaching out to them, giving them the civic education they need, translated.
Well, Mr. Chen was saying earlier, Chinese immigrants here, they are in a very, most of them are in very good position, financially and otherwise. And so they need to share and they need to help other people who are less fortunate, who are less financially stable. And so what are you thinking? What do you think about that? What are the things Chinese Americans are really strong in, and what are they doing? If they are, what can they share with other people who need those who need to benefit from those things, that they can have better life?
I think money is a big one that you already talked about, but another one's education.
So what do you mean by that? Tell me, what money is that? What?
Well, like you said,
give money away.
Well, it's not give money away, right?
So what? So tell me.
But we need to invest into programs, one, that are effective, two, that helps targeted populations who are disadvantaged. And one way that can be done is through government. Like I know the city of Bellevue has a lot of programs.
What does that to do with Chinese Americans for government? Are they Chinese American control government?
No, Chinese Americans don't control government.
So you talk about government can help. So what does that to do with Chinese Americans? Chinese
Americans, I think, need to get into more of these government positions, get into these positions where they can make the decisions. We need more people to run.
Okay, that's one. Are they good at that?
Well, some of them.
You're not answering. Why Chinese Americans are already good at? What can they do in using what they are good at to help other people?
Well, I think one thing that we're already very good at is education.
Yeah.
Academics.
So
what
can they do with the education?
Well, I've seen a lot of Chinese Americans right now use their education to help other people, disadvantaged people, with their college applications, with their homeworks, with tutoring. And I really do think
that.
Pardon?
Tell me one program like that.
One program like that.
Yeah. What are they helping? Who are they helping?
You know, I don't really want to give any.
No, you said there are lots of them. I don't.
I mean, I could give an example of like a program that. So, like you said about the tutoring portion. So yes, I actually did tutor some middle schoolers about programming, and so a way we like outreach and including those programs actually, we can talk about how they do have voices and they do have opinions. I think that maybe like through programs you can just like, even if it's not on the topic, you should just mention like if you have something to say, just say it. And for the tutoring portion, we use like social media. Okay, social media played a really big part in trying to get us to get most of the students to come and attend, and also utilizing, I guess, the parents in the Asian community, specifically using like WhatsApp or like WeChat. That would play a very big role in outreaching. So I think that just
yeah, that's what I was aiming at.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Give us a few 1 minute or so. Are we done? Thank you. What you mentioned, tutoring is important. You know, the Chinese young people, you can teach other kids.
Yeah.
You know, you can use many methods to teach. I don't have to worry about that. The question is, who are the kids you are teaching? The kids that need the service, need help, or just teaching who?
So it's free service, of course. So it's teaching like middle schoolers or people who don't have as much access to it at school.
Here we go.
So
that's it.
What we were focusing
on. Use your knowledge and what you're good at to teach other people who need your help, who doesn't have the help unless you do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They cannot get it from school. They can get somewhere else, but you can provide that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference. Okay.
Yeah, and I think that more people should be like that.
That's a good thing. That's a good example of what you can do with what you're good at and helping other people who need it, who otherwise would not get it, right?
Okay,
and
time to say goodnight.
Different impact. All right, so we are almost to the end of the session. So thank you very much. 我们现在已经到结束了，所以非常高兴有这个机会跟大家沟通所以我们现在就希望下个月再见，新年快乐，万事如意，
新年快乐，
身体健康。Thank you, all panelists.
拜
拜。
肌肉骨骼伤痛、车祸、工伤，请找康健